Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. Today I would like to talk about a personal experience that I've had. I would like to talk about and tell you about the time when I managed to enter the secret Vatican archives. Alright then, the Vatican Secret Archives, or Archivum Secretum Apostolicum Vaticanum in Latin, or Archivio Segreto Vaticano in Italian. So, well, I will tell you about a couple of things in this video very briefly. The first one being how I managed to get there, and the second one being what I actually found there. But before doing that, I would like to give you a little bit of information on what the Vatican Secret Archives are. So, the Vatican Secret Archives are the archives where all the documents of the Catholic Church are stored. Now, when we talk about these documents, and we're talking about everything that the Church has, so we're talking about papal account books, papal correspondence, state papers, all the acts promulgated by the Holy See. In actual fact, within these archives, we find documents that date all the way back to the 8th century, although we have to consider that everything that precedes Pope Innocent III, so of course we're talking about 12th century, has been lost due to political upheavals. Well, at least that is what the Church states. These archives were separated from the Vatican Library in the 15th century under the order of Pope Paul V, and it was under the order of Pope Leo the 13th in 1881 that these archives have become finally open to researchers and scholars. So the fact of the matter is that each year around 1,000 to 1,200 scholars and researchers are granted access to the Vatican Secret Archives for study and research purposes. So, as we can see, some researchers and scholars are granted access to the archives, and I was one of those, believe it or not, and although I have to say that this happened a long time ago. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is, if they're secret, why do they grant access to them? Well, the word secret has to be intended in its medieval sense, meaning private, rather than something that is completely concealed. So, Vatican Secret Archives means that these archives are the private archives of the Church, and they are the property of the Pope, considering that he himself, so the current Pope, has primal incumbency. So, how did I manage to get a permission to get in there? Well, incidentally, when I was working on my languages and I was graduating from university, I was also attending a medieval class. That was one of the optional minors that I could choose, and I was medieval history class, sorry. So my teacher at the time, my professor, was not only a university professor, but she was also a historian, a very talented one. So she could get special access for her and her chosen students. And regardless of the fact that sometimes I'm a little kinky, she chose me. So we went together to Rome from Naples. We took a train, and then from Rome we got into an underground, got to the Vatican. I can still remember the Swiss guards and all that. It was a very, very pleasant journey. Not the first time I went there. I had been there. As a matter of fact, I had been to St. Peter's before. Fantastic place as far as architecture is concerned, of course. But at the time I was going to the secret archives. So, to cut a long story short, we get to the archives, we go downstairs, because we're talking about quite a few floors underneath the ground and underground, and we reach the archives, and there they are, looming in front of me. 85 kilometers, meaning 53 miles of documents and books and volumes. So you have to imagine what that meant for me. I was quite young at the time. Well, I'm still kind of young now, but I was younger. And so that was amazing. And you should imagine me, I didn't have a lot of time, because you have a certain amount of time you can stay there. There is just a certain amount of original documents that you can use for your studies, and you need to keep them in there, of course. And so there are a lot of regulations and rules. And so you need to imagine me running and lumping around with all my books and notes, trying to do as much research as possible. So let me tell you some of the things that I managed to get my hands on. So the first document that I reckon would be interesting to discuss was a letter written from the writer Italian writer Alessandro Manzoni, who happens to be one of my favorite. Well, my favorite is Dante Alighieri, but he's the second. So Alessandro Manzoni has written at least one letter to the Pope, and I managed to read it, to see this letter. So it was very interesting because I could finally see the handwriting of Manzoni, the original signature, and as far as I can remember, because it's been a long time ago, but as far as I can remember, he was asking for some favors as far as his nephew was concerned, or one of his relatives. I don't actually recall. The second document that I managed to see was a sort of very, very interesting one, and I think particularly for those of you who are interested in religious studies, because it was the original copy. When I say original copy, is because each papal act and promulgated tends to have a double copy written at the time, so it's still an original, but it's considered to be a copy of the letter of excommunication written from the Holy See to Martin Luther, because the original one that he got, he actually destroyed in front of the church, where he put up all his points against the Catholic Church. I think you should be pretty familiar with that. So that was another document that I found particularly interesting to review and study. Thirdly, concerning the fact that I am an Orientalist, they granted me access to quite a lot of diplomatic documents and papers having to do with the first exchanges between the Vatican and China. So we are talking about documents both written in Latin and in Chinese, or at least medieval Chinese, that dated back all the way back to Marco Polo and the first expeditions. So that was, again, another very interesting thing to be able to examine. And I can read Chinese, and of course reading ancient diplomatic Chinese was rather a handful, a sort of good exercise, I suppose. I didn't have a lot of time and I didn't have a lot of dictionaries with me. I did bring a couple, but the thing is that I did manage to understand the overall and general meaning of what was going on, but it was still very, very interesting to see how they did the kind of diplomatic exchanges at the time. So, to wrap it up, I think these were the three most interesting things that I managed to see, but there are many, many others. I understand they also have things, for example, the letter written from King Henry VIII of England to the Pope asking for his divorce, and that was, of course, the fact that he was declined. That request sprouted the whole Church of England, or Anglican Church. So there are a lot of interesting documents there, and I hope that in the future I'll be able to go there again to examine those. If I manage to do that, you'll be the first one to know. Anyhow, there's one last thing that I wanted to tell you before finishing this video, and then I wanted to talk about one of you subscribers who has made a fan-made video about me, but with Lego. So we're talking about Lego Me, and I thought that was a really hilarious video. You should have a look. Here is the link. This Lego animation is really well done, and this character actually does what I do. So it's a chance to see me Lego version. He's actually using some of my voice tracks to dub this little video. It's fun. Go have a look, and if you like these kind of small videos, so you could also subscribe to show support to a common member of the community, another noble one like you. Alright then, thank you all for watching as always, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Arrivederci.